Day that is today, the day. Power Hour, we are here. Woo! Redirecting to YouTube. Video unavailable. What? What's going on here? There it is. I was like, what? What is happening? This is madness. Uh got the link. See, I was on the ball. I was early today, GP. There you go. There's your stop twat. And here is your tweedle doo. It's out there. Surprise pod. Hi, we're here. Um, it's just GP and I today. Nick is on holiday, as I just tweeted. And GP was in the middle of saying something very profound about his second love of all loves, his first being Netflix, of course. But his second love of all love, Teslas. You want to just give us the rundown of your giddiness over Tesla, GP?
I just really like the setup here, right? Like technically it looks like you had the daily golden cross, you had the reclaim of the weekly 50 SMA, you have volume increasing here, you have you have potentially catalyst this week with a lot of stuff as there is every week. But I think it's marching to its own drumbeat here, so to speak. It's been showing relative strength to the rest of the market over the last couple of weeks. I like if the setup works out, could be a big week and a half ahead of itself, and we finally breach the 300s. But it's Tesla. It will do everything that I don't think it will do, and it will do none of the things I think it will. So there's always that.
It's just gonna fuck around. No, but really though, I threw the question, so sell everything and buy Tesla. And normally you would be the voice of reason and be like, yeah. But you didn't say no. You didn't say no this time.
So what I've been working on over the last couple of weeks is like, yeah, bought a bunch of positions in 2022, caught some decent moves, but I'm struggling to see where the upside is. And the example I gave to Ben here is Shopify, right? Like I started buying, I think around 68 was my first buy or 680 before it split, and then added in three or four tranches all the way down to like 32. So when it came back to like 68 or something like that, I got out because I had made close to 100% on most of my position, except for the first buy, which is my starter buy, which is never heavy anyway. So I don't. I see Shopify slowly gaining over time. I A lot of the Momo that was in shop was from free money, and so I don't necessarily see that moving forward. So I took shop off my list and am concentrating positions down. I want to be in things that I really believe over the next 6 to 12 months that have possibilities, that have a lot of upside potential, and shop doesn't fall on my list. So I've just been doing that. I'm evaluating Square right now. That piece of garbage has been garbage. It's a big loss for me, unfortunately, but
It's
what
funny
I've
when
always
garbage
said.
stays garbage. Like we expect it to change.
Yeah, and I'm not adding to it. And what have we always said? If you're not adding to it, you should be selling it. So,
Very true.
freeing up shop money. Obviously, I have room to add to Square, but I don't see anything in the chart that says you should be adding this, right? Like
No.
worst case scenario is it drops hard from here all the way back down. I have low 30s for Square.
Hmm.
Um, and if not, it kind of stays range bound. You see that massive head and shoulders there. I like that. I don't really pay attention to patterns as much. But there's no accumulation, and like shop is down like 90% or 70% from its highs, and still very little accumulation down here. So yeah, maybe it goes, maybe it doesn't. I just don't feel the conviction to to be long square. I haven't sold yet, but I am very close to just taking the loss, the hit. And first of all, it gives you mental clarity, right? That's my first
Yep.
thing. Second, it frees up capital to give me opportunities elsewhere in things that may move. Um, and I don't know if I really align with their management, right? And Jack is one of those guys who you can either hate or you can love, right? And you don't hear anything about it. You don't see them. They overpaid for afterpay. They're just yeah. So just evaluating and concentrating down because I think the next leg in the markets in general is going to be more broad based for sure. Um, but I want to be focused on the names that can do me really well, and I just don't see if Square falls into that bucket.
All right. We have talked about this at length. However, I didn't hear you mention Coinbase. You were adding to this not too long ago.
I was. It's miserable, and it looks like a bear flag breakdown. Today was looked like it was going to actually push out of this really tight pinnacle, and it essentially did a bearish engulfing. This is the 200-day tagged again. Bearish engulfing, 200-day tag, volume increasing here. So yes, I'm still long, but I'm not hopeful as much as I was a couple of weeks ago, where people were buying.
Is it on watch
This
for
is
you to sell them possibly, or to
no, I would be
accumulate
adding
at
to it because
lower
I think
prices?
waiting for lower prices at this point, right? Like so, I have my position in this zone, so the next zone would be the place I would be adding, not trying to figure out whether I can catch it here or not. It's
Today is not
holding
a
some.
capitulatory candle for you.
Yeah, and dude, it's too tied to Bitcoin's price movement. Like I rather it just be a stock. It's a brokerage house too, right? Like to be tied to this much to a specific asset class that yeah, I understand that it holds, but it's not their entire business. Makes me makes me actually pretty bullish the stock because they're using this random unrelated kind of asset to bring down this asset price, but it's also had a monster move, right? It's gone from um, what was it like 28, right, all the way to 280, a 10x move in a year and a half. So um, the consolidation can take as long as it needs to after such a move.
So but this would be one that you would put in the bucket of you feel good for 6 months to a year out.
Correct. It's one of the concentrated positions
Adding
I'd
to, but not here because you've already filled your tranche.
correct. And we don't ever add all
We
at the
don't
same
we
time.
don't double tranche.
Yeah.
We don't double tranche. You buy where you buy, and then you buy lower or you buy higher.
Yep.
Ta-da! Yeah, Bitcoin's kind of slopping around too. Still pretty much holding that little. Remember when I drew this way back when? Still kind of holding.
Yeah.
Uh, September is almost here. So let's see if my prognostication comes to fruition. I still
Yeah,
have
that's been sitting in the back of my mind. You said September months ago, so
yeah.
I
I drew
it could
that back in
100% still
June.
drop to like a buck 50 before September, right? So
Yep, I drew
I
that
mean,
back in June
coin.
or early July one. I don't remember. We can go back and watch the pod, but that's kind of the track I expected. Of course, a little higher, a little lower. That's not a scientific or very accurate um, high to low
And
little
if you're
trajectory
talking about
there.
just
It just shows
Bitcoin,
you what I thought's going to happen.
yeah, yeah, no, I appreciate it. And you're more of a grand wizard at crypto than I am. Um, but if you're looking at Coinbase as a proxy to this, that August 5th dip, that was a big, big buying bar to start the open, right? It was a hollow candle straight up. and we've essentially, today was another test of that level, right?
Yep.
To go to like an hourly chart or whatever on this.
On Bitcoin or coin?
On coin, right? So that big buy bar off the gap down has been essentially a point where they keep testing and the buyers keep showing up for. So I like it, but it's not showing the strength that it needs to, and it's too tied to Bitcoin right now. And Bitcoin can wick like crazy, right? It can wick can like literally Bitcoin can go from 59 to 52,000 in a matter of an hour and then come right back to 58,000, right? Or whatever it is. So um
Let's just presume it's hypothetical
yeah.
that you bought somewhere here in the 170s, 180s GP. Well, I mean, we just talked about not buying in on another tranche, but if that were the case, what would you be looking to do right here? Would you just hold firm? Would you look down here near like 113 for your next buy or a breakout above the range? Like how would if you were a recent buyer of this, where would you be looking to add?
So I was a recent buyer of coin on August 5th. I bought it at 175.
That's pretty close.
But as soon as it got close to that 200-day moving average, I sold because we've seen these types of, so like 195. So I took the $20 and just and profited. I think it was like 2 or 4 days or something like that. And I'm like,
I mean, look out below, right? Potentially if it loses the 200.
or it goes back and retests that low, right? And so typically we've seen these gap downs get retested in a few weeks. So I was like, I don't want to be bag holding right back to this level, then I can't add back in. So the second tranche I was looking to add, I got an opportunity to add, but I swung it out real quick. So now so that's the level that I'd definitely be watching, which is that
160.
yeah, that 160 level. This thing moves wild ultimately, right? So it's kind of where it consolidated in um, February of this year before it broke out. It's also where it broke down in April of 2022, right? So
Yep.
there that 160, 158 area or so has been solid kind of support. So I'd be looking for a move into that like I did for on August 5th and it held. So if it held, I waited for it to confirm, and on the confirmation I added. So that's the area I'd be looking for. If it got retested, that buyers actually show up again. Because if it gets retested and the buyers don't show up, I'm not adding anything.
Yeah, I definitely see the 160 level. I'm afraid because again, as you said, it's so directly correlated with what Bitcoin does. Um, I had the Bitcoin chart up just a moment ago. There's no guarantee that that breaks out, right? That's what I think is going to happen, but there's no guarantee it does that. Let's say it goes this way instead, right?
Yeah.
You're probably looking closer on coin to 113, which sounds like a lot, and it is. I
It
mean,
is.
that's 40% loss. But if Bitcoin goes the other way, you could absolutely see that happening in coin. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying that's a potential. And I think that 160 area probably gets melted and you're going to retest sort of that supply and demand zone right there.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I think the thing about Bitcoin that leaves me less than desirable is that you have a daily death cross, right? The 50 cross below the 200 about a week ago, and it has tried one, two, three, and
Oh,
today
it's
was
tried
the
several times, right?
fourth attempt to take out the 50 again, and it keeps getting sold. There's not a lot of volume on these cells, but and we
Five.
saw
I
cross
count
like
five. Oh
five
yeah,
reject.
from the cross four. You're right. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're right.
from the cross, I think it's four.
Yeah, you're
But
right.
we saw a death cross, a mini death cross back in October of 2023 as well. And that resolved to the upside. It's when Bitcoin began its big ascent, right, to new all-time highs.
Mhm.
So yeah, you saw that mini cross there, and then so I'm hoping that that's how Bitcoin ends up looking because everyone's looking for the breakout here. So it's going to give you mass annoyance, and when people start giving up, when it goes sideways or whatever, is when you'll start to see the move higher, right? So
Yeah, I
it's a
don't
low
pay
floater ultimately in the crypto world.
I don't pay a lot of attention to the dailies, but just looking at the rejection of the 9 weekly for the past 3 weeks, and you're already below the 20, that gets concerning. And then that puts you, what's next? Probably a test or a dip below the 50. And then that's right now sitting at 52,000. So, yeah, I'm sticking with my guns. I'm sticking with what the way I think it's going to play out into September, but we still got 2 more weeks of fuckery that can really stretch it out. And I've got the first Monday of September and the last Monday of September marked here. I didn't call a specific day, but somewhere in here, if we're going higher, I would expect to start to see that move. So I'm being patient, sticking with my original thesis. Nothing is broken. Nothing's telling me to go another way, but there are some things just to pay attention to and be aware of.
There are short-term concerns, and in the world that I know, last couple of years it's been tested quite often on the technical side. Is that the first test of the rising weekly 50 moving average, especially after a weekly golden cross, is typically like eyes closed buying, right? Like it should be that way. But there's a lot of fuckery in this market, right? I don't mean it like look at like Netflix, 2.5 to almost 3 years to take out all-time highs, and the first immediate move to take out all-time highs,
Above
all
and then fail.
immediately failed, right? Like that 10:30 a.m. hit and it just failed. And I still like it. I still like the move here. It but if you look at the flow, and this is the thing with these low floaters, as soon as that cross happened at 700 and it pumped to like 710, all you saw was a plethora of people selling calls. 800 calls for September, 750s for this week. And it's like, this is what's happened in this market recently, which is as soon as anything gets to resistance or tries to break out to all-time highs, people who are holding positions from much, much lower start to sell covered calls against it. Or all these separate ETFs that have formed over the last few years that are selling covered call strategies for investors are coming in and selling the hell out of this. But like, hey, we're good with just collecting premium here. If it breaks out, it breaks out, but don't really care, right? And so in low floaters, when you have this type of premium being sold, I think it was like 1,500 of the 800 calls or 2,000 of the 800 calls for September. That's enough pressure to put downwards pressure towards it and not break out. So that's been this market this year for the most part. Is as soon as you get to resistance, call buyers come out. As soon as you get to support, put buyers come out. So
All
we're
right,
stuck in range.
here's a question for you. It just came to me while you were talking about Shopify and Square and now into Netflix. Would you rather be in a position where you're in a similar position of Netflix that you just reached all-time highs, but it's falling, or would you rather be in a position like Square where it could break out, but it's been a they're both miserable traders, right? But
Yeah.
which miserable trade would you rather be in? Netflix?
Yeah. So in a bull market, I'm taking leaders, right? And when I say leaders for multiple reasons, it's the streaming leader. It has embarrassed every streamer on the planet since inception. Started with Blockbuster. They're crushing Disney, Hulu. Literally, you can't find one that. So they're the leader in their sector, right? And then they're also leading in price. They're coming back and going for the second test of all-time highs, which typically is the more powerful breakout because the first test of the all-time highs, when you look at this from a human psychology perspective, is all the people who got trapped in 2021 are like, I'm out. I am selling this crap. It's been too long. And so you naturally see a progression towards a that's what they call the cup and handle formation, right? That's how the cup and handle forms, is all the trap buyers from the prior highs have now become sellers, but there's not that many of them because that was at all-time highs. A lot of the buyers were much lower, right? So they don't become trapped. So you have that initial pullback, which typically is a 30% pullback. And guess what Netflix just did? Tag 697, 3 points high off the all-time highs back in, what was it, June, July, somewhere time frame, and then gave you a 30% correction. So it is technically your second attempt out of a cup and handle formation, rounding bottom formation, double top formation, whatever you want to call it, right? I don't really care about the names, but it should be more powerful. So square, yes, you can get a better percentage, but it's in a range. So it could just stay in this range. It could have a 5% move, but one that lets me sleep at night is Netflix. The one that does not let me sleep at night is Square. So that's the difference.
I mean, Netflix, I mean, that could easily be 30% from here, right? Like that could go up to 90,
It could.
right? Right. I mean, it's not currently, but it could. Like it's
It
not
could, but what's the
underwater.
catalyst here, right? Like, so for me,
Yeah.
Netflix is back to growing their user base through the ad platform. They are free cash flow of $6 billion a year. They are fundamentally better than they were when they hit their prior all-time highs, like fundamentals wise.
Well, I mean,
Is
could
it
the technicals be the
overvalued? PE is too
catalyst?
much, whatever. I don't care about that. But fundamentally, we are much better positioned at this all-time highs than the last one.
Could the technicals be the catalyst? I mean, you've got a 9 and 50 supporting a 20 coming down that if it breaks over the 20, you're going to have two moving averages support you there on the weekly. I'm playing devil's advocate. I'm not long the stock or short the stock, but I could see where one could make a case that this is building the support to go higher from here. I could make that case, I think.
Yeah, and for me, I don't use moving averages when things have been flat for years, right? So, moving averages for me are a trend following mechanism, right? So, when you're in an uptrend and then it breaks a moving average, then it's something to be cautious about, right? Or if you're in a downtrend and it breaks the above moving average, then it's something to pay attention to. But when you've been sideways since 2022, right? There's not much, right? Like so that you have square there, that big green bar to take in the middle, which looks like the bottom of the inverse head and shoulders here. Yeah.
Here,
See when I say it's something to pay attention, you have a heavy declining blue line that's been declining for weeks now and overall downtrending since 2021. And in 1 week on one green bar, it reclaimed it. You should start paying attention to that, right? Because that's in my world, that's a huge move. Obviously, the green bar indicates it, but it also reclaimed a moving average on that
yeah, it
huge
was
spot.
21% that week.
Yeah, so that's something you should pay attention to because now it's changed the trend in 1 week. But here, for me, moving averages in a sideways trend, it's been 60 something for, I don't know, 3 months now, 4 months, right? It's just not something that I really focus on. It'd be great if that
Yeah,
was the case.
since middle of May.
Yeah. So let's take like look at this from a different perspective. Let's look at Tesla, right? So Tesla here broke the 50 moving average, right? Sideways kind of action for a while, broke it and immediately reclaimed it. This to me is something that it's been under for a really long time now. So now that it's over and it's reclaiming it, it's something to pay attention to. So it really it's a chart by chart conversation, right? For me, is like if you've been under the flat kind of 50-week moving average or whatever 200-week moving average, I can't remember which one it is, and you break it, you finally break above it and then immediately reject it, you would think there'd be follow through on that rejection to lower, but instead it reclaimed it. So you can argue that it's a false break under a moving average, and that becomes a more powerful tool.
I mean, I have a similar outlook on Tesla as what I proposed as a potential for Square. I'm looking for 295 here, right? I mean, basically that's a retest of the range. And if we go back to block or square up to 90, 80, high 80s, that would just basically be a retest of the range. Um,
Yeah. I just don't
but
I don't have the
again,
conviction yet.
your reasoning is not invalid. I'm just pointing out that it can be easy to see the similarities, but it's very helpful to know those insights to be able to differentiate.
Yep. And so for me also what always factors in is my personal thoughts on where stocks can go, right? I don't see how Square breaks the range unless they introduce something that none of us have heard of. They're in fintech, they're in payments, they grew like crazy, right? Whereas for Tesla, I think 295 is the range, but that or 299 or whatever it is, but over that you have this room for a bigger breakout considering the catalyst that's sitting in the background, right? So that's to me it's the leader in the name, right? In the space. Would you say Square is the leader in payments or is it PayPal?
Consumer payments. I
Small
think that
business, sure.
well, small business probably. But the leader in payments, no, I would say it's not in overall payments. No, I'd
Yeah.
say you're still, I'd still you're say is still in Visa and Mastercard, right?
Yeah, exactly my point, right? So like if you're in a bull market that's concentrated in only names that are doing really
I
well,
mean, JP Morgan's in, Chase is in payment space, right? So there's a lot of different payment processors out there.
yeah. And so yeah, maybe Square does have a big move. Upstart, I don't know what it does, had a big move, so it's possible. PayPal is having a decent move today, so it is possible. But if you have a finite capital amount, are you spreading it to 30 different stocks and putting 2% in each, and or sorry, 3% in each or 3.5% in each, and saying, hey, let's
Yep.
go balls to the wall on all of these, and hopefully they break out. Okay. I'm not that type of investor. I'm a concentrated investor, always have been. I don't like holding 40 names because what typically happens is 20-year up and 20-year down in a day, and you go sideways for a long times, and then things work out.
Well, that's if everything's equal, right? Sometimes your downs are much deeper than your ups, and it makes it hard.
Yeah.
Makes it hard.
And
You're
concentrated
you're
bets
you're
suck, dude.
you're basically creating your own ETF, and you may as well just put it into SPY or QQQ or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Or even the Vanguard fund, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Boo.
um,
Yeah, exactly.
so like that's my kind of like have a DCA amount that sits in those index funds, right? That you do without fail every Monday or whatever it is for you and what your threshold is. And then when you're making the bets, you're making the concentrated bets, right? And
Um, let,
so
let's
that's me personally.
let's change gears a little bit.
Or
Some news yesterday, pre-market about AMD. Has given it a little bit of a pop. I mean, obviously we've come off the low from 2 Mondays ago, but what's your thoughts on AMD? The rest of the chip sector a little bit down on the day. I pulled up the SMH here. This I don't remember how long ago I drew that up channel. but you had to complain about AMD being the laggard of the bunch compared to its brethren NVIDIA.
Dude, it
Where
was
you at
red
on
year to
AMD?
date when we
What's your
talked.
thoughts on AMD?
So I think my overall thoughts is that it's a horrible trader. Um, it's miserable. It is max pain in all direction, has been for years. I think there's money rotating out potentially of Nvidia. I can see, let's take the famous Drunken Miller, right? Or Drunken Miller,
Mhm.
as his Nvidia long, right? And he killed it. Maybe he's now piling into AMD because he sees that AMD can play catch up to. He's not piling into Intel, so let's not talk about Intel here. But
Didn't I bring that hypothetical up a couple of weeks ago? That sounds vaguely familiar.
oh, I don't. If you did, I apologize. I don't remember. I'm not trying to steal your.
You're telling my thesis when you were complaining about AMD.
Yeah, it's rotation, right? To me, but it was
Yes.
still underperforming then. It was still red for the year.
Yes, girl.
So
Yes.
I like it, right? But I've liked it. I have a target of 295 on it. It's just miserable. I'm an owner of shares in that as well, and I think that's from the 90s. So like
You
I
just sock
know,
it in the count and forget about it.
yeah, it's I haven't looked at that position in a long time. So
It's like my missing the train or not getting off the train on Amazon. You just sock it in the count and forget about it and let it do what it do.
yeah.
Amazon with a nice little rebound too. Obviously, this is a Tuesday, so nice week last week to offset some of those some of those losses. And right back close to prior all-time highs. Still have a ways to go to get back up there to that 200 level. But Amazon, what's your thoughts there, GP? I know when we were talking about last week, we thought this was one that we liked and probably one that's cheaper than more of the megas. Anything of the last week change your mind or embolden you about this one?
No, I own it. I will always have a piece allocated towards it unless they start really dropping the ball. It's it makes no sense to not have Amazon and Google and Microsoft and Apple in your portfolios to some degree, whether it's through the Qs or Vanguards or individual names. They are the leaders, and when they stop being the leaders, I think it'll be pretty clear. So you hold on to them because they give you stability ultimately as well.
All right, of the Mag 7 stocks, if you were starting all over in your portfolio and you were going to have one or well, let's say up to two names of the Mag 7 stocks that you had to buy within the next this week. You had to allocate money this week.
Mhm.
Give me one or two names that you would go for to be in
The
your
Mag
portfolio.
Sevens are which ones again?
The Mag 7 is Apple, Microsoft, Meta, Alphabet, Nvidia, and Tesla. I think that's seven.
Okay, so I think hands down that would be Tesla number one and Meta number two.
But you would buy both of those this week if you had to allocate the funds,
Yeah, I would.
and you would take those two. It wouldn't be just Tesla. It would be Tesla and Meta.
I like Meta overall from a fundamentals perspective and also from the chart perspective.
The
Uh,
chart looks solid.
it's been consolidating above that breakout in January for now 7 months. So I like it. You have the MACD weekly curling up here. Um, yeah, just overall, I think it's one of the cheaper names, so I wouldn't be too worried about holding it. Apple is Apple. I don't see the growth for it. I find it to be a little expensive. They're incrementally the best operators on the planet. Um, but okay, right? Like that's about it. I made this choice with Apple back in 2013 because I used to hold Apple. I'm a concentrate position. I used to hold Apple and Tesla equally in my account, and I made the decision back then. Sorry, not 2015. I think it's 2000, whatever the date is. I can't remember, but it's the mid 2010s. Um, I sold all of Apple and put it into Tesla, and probably they've had the same moves since then. So, even though Tesla's had that huge move in 2021, if you iron it out, I think they're both like 10 or 15x since then. So, but yeah, it's the same kind of. I don't see where Apple gets its next leg from. They'll just be incremental operators, right? They'll bring in cash, they'll do everything that they do, and they do it well. And I would be a seller if Tim Cook steps down because I don't think Tim Cook can be replaced.
Yeah, he's Tim Apple has been a baller since taking over. Honestly, I know there's a deep love for Steve Jobs, and rightfully so. But Tim has not done a bad job.
Yeah, and I think we were talking about this, or someone that I was talking about. I was reading an article when they rehired Jobs back at Apple. Their conditional hire with him was Tim Cook, right? So he's the guy who came in and took Steve Jobs' thoughts and ideas and kind of wildish behavior and formulated it into this behemoth that it's become, right? And so when Steve Jobs died, Tim Cook was a great predecessor. Predecessor? No, that's not the right word. Anyway, it doesn't
Successor.
matter. Successor, yeah, I'll get there. A great successor because he was the guy who was going to take it to the next level anyway. Um, but if he steps down, I don't know who's sitting in the ranks of Apple from an innovation or operation perspective anymore. So I
All
would
right,
be.
let's play a little bit of portfolio building, GP. We already talked about the two Mag sevens you would choose if you were starting up your portfolio today. How many hypothetically I give you $100,000, you have to allocate at least 75% of it by the end of the week. You're putting money in Tesla and Meta. What else or how many other names are you adding? We know we don't want 40 names. We know that we have to have a couple more. But how would you approach that challenge?
So I would look at adding a 25% short, like so 75% long and 25% short.
The long
And
end.
I would short the living piss out of Boeing, right? Like
Oh my
that's
God, yes.
so yeah. This company just needs a haul,
Oh my God.
overhaul. It needs to be just wiped clean and started again.
Can you
I
old
think
yeller a company?
Old Yeller.
Yeah, you've never seen the movie Old Yeller.
I didn't know it was a
The
company.
dog has rabies and they have to put the dog down.
Yeah. So Boeing's in that camp. I think Boeing is going back to 88. So I would pair the two longs with the short in Boeing. If you look at post-COVID and post-COVID charts, compare Boeing to Royal Caribbean, RCL.
Well, but before we do that, I just want
Yeah.
to, you're talking about pre and post COVID. There's pre COVID. There's
Yeah,
post.
yeah,
That
it's
was
the same pattern, dude. It's a distribution pattern, game over.
the same thing. It's the same thing.
I believe
Royal
I
Caribbean.
posted this on StockTwits
You
3 or
did.
4
I
months.
missed it. That would have been beautiful.
So look at RCL, right? RCL, same reaction off the COVID distribution, right? Pre-COVID distribution, and smoked. And then management that actually knows what they're doing and can right the ship has shown
Riding the
up via
ship.
price action.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
And look at that volume change. when you're middling and
So, but it's not just Boeing. Look at some of the airline names too. They don't look great. United, UAL.
ugh.
Yeah, right. So some of these airline, like maybe they're tied to Boeing and stuff like that. I think Delta maybe looks a little bit better. DAL as well.
Love has fallen out of favor big time.
Yep.
Even though you're our volume guy, and there is a bit of an uptick there and coming in volume, GP. Do you make anything of that, or that's just
I just have no interest in being in airline names, right? Like they
somebody
just
does though? Somebody may watch this and they may be like, "This is a great spot to add here." It hasn't been this low since COVID.
you should watch a different podcast.
Okay,
Sorry. We are not the airline people. We've never been the airline people. So we'll be the chart people. And I looked at these charts and I have no interest in them.
and he said no. How about Delta?
Same, right? Like only thing Delta did was make a higher high, which is obviously slightly better than the others. They're just not my cup of tea. I guess that's
That's
and
fair.
you can still make a lot of money in them. I just have no interest in them.
That's fair. Hey, one name that we've hated for a long time. I shouldn't say hated. That might be a bit strong. One name that we've avoided for a very long time, not very long time, and I couldn't help but look at this chart today. Are you ready? Are you holding on?
I mean, Roku?
You ready?
Yeah.
GLD.
Yeah. Our concept
Gone.
was always buy the all-time highs and hold tight.
Gone.
I think it looks great, right? And
Yes.
um, but right, people are talking about the moves. Is like until it takes out all-time highs, the move's not happening. Now it's taking out all-time highs and the move's happening. So I think the move is to 3,000 personally, measured move wise.
The 3,000?
On gold, yeah.
3,000.
It's 300 on GLD.
Yeah,
The
okay.
futures is
Yeah.
3,000.
Yeah, I'm not looking at the future. I'm on GLD. So you're still thinking another 30%? Would,
Yeah,
would you rather grab on tight for your 30% here in Square or in Tesla? I think I know the answer.
dude, that I'm not even answering such a question.
It's
Why
Tesla.
don't you answer? I'd actually like to know
Tesla.
what.
It's Tesla. It's Tesla.
Exactly.
I'm just trying to give you more reason to glow about your infatuation with Elon. That's all.
Yeah, that's fine, dude. He's a nutcase, and he's always been a nutcase. Stock has performed with or without him.
Yeah,
So,
you're right.
uh,
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. We did have one question in the chat, GP. If you are actually a couple, whoa, we got a bunch of them coming in here. But the first one was about Nova.
I haven't sold out Square, by the way.
Oh,
I'm
you
thinking
haven't
about
sold out at
it. No,
Square.
no, 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 no. I just saw that on the looking through the
Oh,
questions. I
my
haven't. I've been
bad.
contemplating it. I sold out a shop.
Sold out of shop. Okay, my bad. Nova, Sun Nova Energy. It's a solar name.
I okay. First
Anything?
solar. Buy first solar. Stop fucking around with anything else.
I think that's a fair assessment. It's had a strong few months. Oh, Sun Nova is. It's breaking above its moving averages. I mean, I could see it put in a little inverted head and shoulders here. I could see it do one of these. I could see it do one of those. I could see that happening.
So what I will say about SunNova, and you guys can make money on all these stocks. This is not a conversation about the stocks, but when I see two big up bars on the daily, which was I think early March or late March on the daily here, right in volume, like two back-to-back green days followed by an immediate capitulation sell volume, that tells me that, and there's multiple distributions since then, is like people are like can't wait to get out of the stock, right? Like
Oh, I
I
mean, it's been a death trap. I mean, if you look at it from going way back, I mean, yeah, people are dying. There's a lot of dead bodies, as we like to say.
yeah. So I don't have interest in this, and like I said, this is a concentrated bull market. This is not a full on everything is a bull market like 2020 and 2021 was. This is a concentrated bull market. So to me, I focus on the leaders in the space. And the leader in this space is for solar.
Excuse me. Yes, the
Might be
leader.
terrible, but what's that?
Yes, the leader is First Solar. Um, as you said, and we've said multiple times, anything can trade. I think up to here into the 12, 13 range. If it makes it there, that would be where I would get off the train.
Yeah,
Because while it could do this head and shoulders that I showed, you've got a ton of bodies right there from people who have just been um, brutalized and waiting for anything to be able to let them sell. So I would probably get off the train in the 12 to 13 range if it were me. If that were my possession, it is not. I have no position. Bihanu, hi, great to see you again. Twilly,
but
Twilio. I haven't looked at Twilio since they fired their CEO, and hey, it looks like Roblox.
yes.
I'm
The
I'm not I'm not
Roblox
a fan. I'm not a fan of Twilio.
Roblox looks great, by the way. I still say it.
But this is the same pattern that Roblox has been in. I mean, I'm gonna flash over that Roblox. Get a picture of this in your head,
Yes.
and now look at this.
Yep. Square, Roblox. Can't name all.
So I'm not saying do or don't buy Twilio. What I am saying is they have been houses of pain as opposed to easy gains. And until they figure out what they're doing, I'm not a fan. Twilio was so hot, one of the sexy names in 2020, but not so much lately. T Doc, why do we need to look at T Doc, Bihanu? Ugh, just no.
It's most likely Banu, by the way, Ben.
It's most
The name
likely.
Banu.
Oh, it's most likely what?
So I think it's an Indian name, so I think it's Banu.
Banu. So I'm sorry.
No. I just saw it too, so I was like, oh, it could be Bihanu too. I
Yeah,
could
yeah.
be
You
wrong.
can never tell if that's the
Yeah,
first
I know.
initial of somebody's name. Like I don't know. I can't pronounce it.
Sorry. Fully distracted. My bad.
T Doc. No. Why? I mean,
If
why?
anything, by Kathy. But no,
Yeah, I mean,
no.
if you want to hold ARKK, right?
But realize the market, Bihanu, Banu, whatever it is that the market is not rewarding crap companies at all, right? Like you can try to catch the bottom here, but you're going to be most likely in pain and frustrated and all that other stuff. Maybe it gets bought out, maybe it doesn't, but they're not rewarding any of these names. They haven't rewarded any of these names all summer, right?
This is
They're
not
all been
financial advice, but this is how I look at trying to bottom pick. You want to bottom pick good companies that have sold off for a particular reason, not shit companies. And I'm sorry, T Doc. I used to be a believer in T Doc. You don't want to buy companies that are just continually losing. I mean, we can look at a plethora of names. I'm not going into them all, but when you see this, this is uninvestable in my opinion. Again, anything can trade, but as an investment, I can't do it. I can't do it. Like this is the monthly chart. Look at all the red selling, like just in the volume. Like who's other than Kathy, who is here to save it? I mean, Kathy might sink her firm trying to save this shit.
Yeah.
A name you're familiar with, I think, GP MBLY, Mobile
Mobile
Eye.
Eye. Yeah. I just think it's a mean reversion trade. It could potentially pop here. These are new IPO names. This is not investable. This to me, that
Trade,
is.
trade,
It's a
trade.
trade that I like bottom fishing, so I like bottom fishing names in spaces that are hot, like chips. I'm not bottom fishing T-Doc because no one cares about telemedicine anymore. If you were bottom fishing telemedicine in 2021, great. But in 2024, it's chips. So
Manu says Kathy
uh,
is almost out of T-Doc, by the way. Um,
good. Then there's
good
no
for
reason to buy.
good for her. Good for her. She, as good traders do, sometimes we are victims of our own success, but eventually we see the light and change our ways.
That is not Kathy, but sure. Yeah. So this is to me is a quick trade. Um, in Mobileye, you could potentially get, I don't know, $3 to $5 from this, right? So that's all, 20-30% and be out. Maybe it goes higher, maybe it doesn't, but you know me, I don't, it's an IPO, so no desire.
Hey, Ron, we already talked about Tesla, Novavax. Um, I mean, eh, I don't know, GP. You got an opinion on Novavax? I mean, that kind of
Pull up a quarterly chart.
sure would love to. There you go.
Buy 13, sell 300. It's just like, or whatever, buy whatever this amount is, that buy the $4 range. It's a monster volume bar, right? Like it's huge, but
Yeah.
it's been literally sideways since 98 with its
Yeah.
spikes. So if you're in this, get out when it spikes, right? It
Yeah.
doesn't hold ever.
Yeah,
It,
I would place my stop in the eights somewhere if it were me. I
yeah,
have no position here, but if it loses those moving averages, it's probably going lower.
huge volume bar on the monthly,
Yeah,
right?
the gigantic. Well, yeah, on the monthly for sure. That was back in May.
And weekly too. So it's probably just consolidating for the next leg higher.
Yeah.
But
So
this thing has not held gains in 27 years.
no.
So if it pops and you get a big monster win out of it, don't be to me, I wouldn't be shy about selling. You can do whatever you
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, exactly. I would be looking to sell anywhere in that high teens.
Yeah. And if you get lucky and you get the 50s, get the yeah.
I presuming I bought today. I don't know what a hypothetical entry would be from some other time, but if I were buying today, I would be getting out in the upper teens.
Yeah. Oh, well, it broke out on huge volume. It retested last week on the weakness in the markets. Um, if I was buying, my stop would be that first day breakout high, which is $11, right?
Yeah,
Um, this is if I'm trading. I have no interest in trading in these types
yeah,
of stocks. But
yeah, yeah.
um, and if you don't want to buy the 11 retest, I would buy when it starts to fill that gap at 1490 and ride it to the upside. These are those stocks that you almost want to catch either at the very, very, very bottom or on the momentum swing up, right?
Brad, hi Brad, brought up snow. Brad's brought up snow in the past. GP
Earnings
does
tomorrow.
not like snow. I have had this range box in place for months, if not more than a year at this point. And yeah, it dipped under, but it popped right through just like it went over and it came right back down. This can trade, in my opinion. That doesn't mean it's going to be a fun trader or a good trader, but your stop out for me would be pretty clear below 110. Don't want anything for it. I think you can buy, I think I could buy anywhere in this bottom part of the range box and look for higher 100s. I'm not saying it gets all the way to 200, 190. I'm not saying that at all. I would probably get off the bus somewhere here in the 170s, 180s if it were me.
It is 33 points below the 200-day moving average, the daily 200-day moving average. Earnings are tomorrow, so you can see a mean reversion off the bottom of the box to
Yep.
that area.
I would be a
Um,
seller into the 200-day then.
yeah, exactly. There's no accumulation in this chart, even after getting beat down after beat down after beat down. Buffett sold out. He was a early investor, pre-IPO investor, and he's
Yep.
out too. It's been
I
overvalued.
remember when they were lauding him buying it as like, of all the names, why are you buying this? So I'm pretty sure it wasn't Warren, but somebody else in Berkshire who was like, we got to invest in this.
Yeah, exactly. So regardless, they made their money, they're out. It's a double bottom potential. I still don't see any volume. This is the thing I've been struggling with, Ben, is that on these double bottoms after this long, I expect buyers to step in hand over fist,
And they're not.
and they aren't.
They're not.
So maybe my technical analysis is completely off here,
Oh,
or there's something missing from here.
you've been spot on snow for a minute, GP. I know I've tried my hand and I've traded it okay when I've traded it. But I haven't traded it in some time. But again, this range box from 2022 has been beautiful. It's been very, very accurate. Had I been paying attention and this was snow was on my mind, yeah, I would have probably bought that touch off the box there. I probably would have bought 110. I mean, it went down to 107. I would have felt like I had a bargain at 110.
Yeah.
But this is not something that I would want to sock a lot of money into. They could prove me wrong, right? This could absolutely just start a new channel upwards and just keep going. But it hasn't shown that it's doing that. There's nothing in the charts to lead me believe it's going to do that, just like GP has said for months.
Yeah, and here's a good example for me, right? So you see that bottom touch of the snow chart here, right? That was that first week of August where everything got smoked. Look at the volume candle there, right? Doesn't even match the sell candle from the week prior, and that was a full trading week. And yes, it's summer, but on an opportunity to get snow at 107, 108, I would have expected people to be like, yo, pushing their grandmothers out of the way to get long the stock. That is not what I saw. Now,
No
if you look at the same weekly candle on the Qs, look at that. Look at that volume that came in
volume,
that, right? Look at the volume that came in on that week. That said, hey,
no
bears,
volume.
that was fun, but we got you, right? We are gonna buy in, and it put in a monster reversal
Yep.
on the highest, what is it, the highest green bar in since 2023,
Hmm.
right? So that's what I would have expected to see in names like Snowflake and not. Doesn't mean Snow can't go to 5,000 again. It's just not my world of setups. And so I like to see that when I'm buying something, there are a ton of other miserable buyers with me, right?
Yes.
As support. And so that's why I use volume, that it's other people who also think exactly like I'm thinking it. This is a double bottom. And there's no one who thinks it's a double bottom here, except for a handful of people.
Yeah, and I think I'm not the biggest user of volume. I leave it on the chart because GP always wants to see it on the chart, but it is helpful. to just be able to see, okay, there is conviction in this buy right here, right? As compared to this one, right? Like everything about it is different. While the price action is similar, every single thing else about it is different. And it's important to know to be able to identify those. And sometimes we like a stock or a name a little too much. We're all guilty of that, I think. And we want to have those rose-colored glasses on. And sometimes it gets in our way of just being able to have a little bit better judgment. Hey, I'm guilty of it too. There's been stocks that I've fallen in love with for one reason or another that hasn't performed as well as I would think other things do. And then I look at the charts and was like, yeah, I should have seen that. I had my own bias, and it happens. Um,
Mhm.
when
And Dave,
we,
look, accumulation is not the end all be all ultimately. I've been talking about the accumulation in Wayfair for almost 2 years now, and it's at the bottom of its range. So I'm not saying it's the end all be all. What I'm saying is that people are buying this stock for a longer period of time. So if you
yeah,
can get your head out of your ass and not look at 3 minute charts and see a longer term perspective, yes, it's sitting at the bottom of the range, but buyers are here saying, hey, when we're ready to move this higher, we're going to support the prices moving forward, right?
yeah,
It doesn't mean just because there's accumulation, it's going to break out in 6 months. It means that it's got the support to go higher. But if Wayfair fumbles the ball at all of those buyers, those accumulators now become sellers, and pain ensues. So just keep that in mind as a double-edged sword as well.
yeah. You mentioned PayPal earlier. It is popping a little bit. It's gathered all the moving averages. Weekly looks pretty good. You're coming to this little pivot up here around 75, 76. I mean, if one were to buy the lows, I might think about taking my profits. What is that? About 20% gain? Yep, about 25% gain. That's hey, if you can stack 25% gains over and over and over, you've got this game licked.
Yeah, dude. And look, PayPal, I've talked about accumulation not being there. That earnings candle, that was accumulation, right? And the follow through on the week after where the market got pummeled, it was also pretty heavy volume compared to the sell volume in the recent weeks. So yes, people are stepping in here. Are people stepping in the same way that they have in the past before? No. But are they stepping in? For sure.
Yes. Palantir just keeps going, doesn't it?
It's ready for some rest, to be
It
honest.
is. It is. I would expect it to come back into this next range box,
Thanks.
probably.
Can I let you talk for a minute? I just got to step away for a second. I'll be right back.
Yeah, for sure. We're going long, but that's cool. Um, I pulled up a weekly watch that I put together long, long ago. Um, because I haven't been that active on the trading front, but a lot of these names are still holding their chart patterns. So that's good. Palo Alto, GP was very bearish on Palo Alto at one time. Still looks very good. I think it's got earnings coming up, or maybe it's today. Is earnings today? I don't know. Somebody knows. Correct me if I'm wrong in the chat. But I've liked the cybersecurity space for a long time, and that chart looks pretty good to me. We'll see if it can push higher. We might have a potential Batman working here, but it looks good. It's holding all its moving averages. Kind of like it. Salesforce just sort of drips and drabs after moving up off its lows in 2023. I still like IGV a lot. That's the software ETF. Twilio's in there, by the way. I know you brought up Twilio earlier. Um, I think was it Ron or Ty's cutting off all his messages there. What's up, Ty? Um,
All right, sorry about that. I'm back.
Oh, that's okay. I was just going through some charts that have held up on months on end that I haven't looked at in some time. Look at Exxon right at that pivot.
Oh yeah, Exxon looks great, but it's going nowhere.
Yeah.
And this is all while oil is not performing all that well.
Oh, hi, Bihana or Banu. My apologies. It was you that asked about Twilio. But I still like IGV. I think IGV. Um, it's similar to Bug on the cybersecurity side. It's hard to pick just one name and be the winner. So get a basket of them. It makes life a lot easier, at least for me.
I think now falls into that category. Now looks
Now
great,
does. Yep. Yep. Now looks great. It does.
right?
Yep.
But a lot of the software names don't. MDB doesn't, Snow doesn't, etc.
Um, what was I looking at just a second ago? Datadog. Yeah, that didn't look so great. I still like IGV. Spotify. What a V on that guy, right? Like that's beautiful. That's kind of what you want to see in
Yeah.
a strong stock is a nice bounce back and keep on going.
You know what looks good?
Tell me.
Home Depot.
Home Depot. I actually turned on CNBC for the first time today, and they had someone from I think it's Evercore ISI talking about Home Depot and Lowe's. So I pulled up the chart while I was on my phone, and I know I was a Lowe's guy for a minute, but I think I've switched back to the Despot. I mean, it's the
Yeah.
same chart. I just I don't know. I think there's a little bit more strength in the Home Depot professional side of things.
Yeah, and the chart's kind of showing it too. You had a pretty solid reaction to the earnings. It was down and then closed up green on pretty hefty volume. It kind of then broke out. It consolidated with two inside days, and now it's starting to break out. It's close to taking out the downtrend for the year. If it does, this has potential. Not that this is like one of those things that are going to triple overnight, right? So or double overnight.
Right,
It's your 10 to 15% moves, and you get paid to hold it in the meantime of what, 3, 4%?
right.
I
Uh,
like it. I like it a lot.
hey Banu, I don't know if we have time for GP to go in on his full thoughts for the next 3 months. But that leads us into the election, GP. What are your just general expectations in the intermediate term?
I think my contrarian side in me, this is not chart based, so to speak, but my contrarian side in me is that the markets never repeat 3 years in a row, right? They usually give you two. People are like, oh, it's happened back to back years. And then they try to follow that the next third year and they get slammed in the face. So the last 2 years has been sell in July, come back and buy in October, right? And so you had this moment where people were like, oh, there it is again on the first week of August. So I think we are now potentially in that contrarian cycle, which is pump into that October OPEX earnings time frame, and then start to showcase weakness overall going into elections, and then post elections maybe. Um, then you can see a further kind of breakout move maybe. Um, After that. But that's just kind of what I'm thinking is now we see uh like little small examples are showing up with this August OPEX was the first OPEX that we closed green since January, right? Every other OPEX has been red, and August was the first one. You can say it's low volume, it's everything. But after the 2 weeks prior, where everyone was panicking and selling and calling yen carry trade, the canary in the coal mine, we closed green on an OPEX. That doesn't happen very often in the year. And January was the only other time, and um, August was the other one. So market is potentially signaling that it's sniffing out rate cuts. And if rate cuts are coming and if they're pretty decent, we can see a pump into that. I don't know. where the narrative has formed that rate cuts equals market sell. Do you know when that started to form?
Um, I think rate cuts is we've talked about this before. I don't think rate cuts is a bullish thing in this environment.
I if it's failing, yes, I don't think it's a good like if the market is failing, right? If the economy is failing and we're going into recession, I think rate cuts is the oh shit moment.
Yeah.
This is not good. But we're not in a recession. Maybe we get there in 3 months and whatever. But rate cuts and not to a recession is a indication for me that that's bullish because they are adding a catalyst for additional growth, right? We've maintained this 2 to 3% GDP, and we can see that we're starting to flatline. And so now that we've gotten inflation under control, let's cut rates so we can return to more growth, right? So I can see that being the case. But dude, last time we did rate cuts, 2020, markets
Yes.
went markets sold before the rate cuts went market went nuts. Before that, 2018 Christmas, if you remember that day, it was one of the most miserable days
Yes.
of that whole cycle. Going into Christmas, everyone was like everything was getting rocked and the market sniffed out the rate cuts that happened I think January, but we pumped 31% into those rate cuts on the Qs, right? So I don't
So
know where
so
that
well, I don't have time to fully go into this, and maybe we can table a little bit of this for the next time.
yeah.
But I think that if the economy is going great, there should be no requirement for additional cuts. I understand what you're saying of you're helping enable growth, but at the same time, the Fed's job on monetary policy should be to keep the porridge warm, not get the porridge hot or get the porridge cold.
Right. So I understand that. And typically your Fed funds rate should equal your inflation rate, right? That's where your
Yeah,
normal kind of balance sits. So you're choking up here when inflation was up here, right? But you're still choking up here, but inflation is down here, then you can hurt businesses that are kind of tied to some of this lower interest rates that would help them grow and put money in. So if you bring it down to here where inflation is kind of sitting, you get the opportunity to grow, but not to grow at a ridiculous pace, right? Just to get your 1 to 2% incremental growth back in to help. So I'm not saying rate cuts from 5.25, 5.5, all the way back down to zero. I'm saying rate cuts back to 3, 3.5 would be bullish the economy for a longer period of time. But if they go from 5.25 straight to zero again, that's bad news, right?
yeah. All right, GP. I got to run, but
Yep, no
hey,
worries.
we did an hour and 15. We miss you, Nick. We'll see you
Yep.
next week.
All right,
Peace.
see you guys.